Theta Brainwave Activation by Trevor McGrath. In this video, I'll be covering the theta brainwaves and how to achieve this state. I'll also be covering its effects on the mind, body, and emotions, as well as the mystical or spiritual effects it can bring. This will not be your run-of-the-mill breakdown on the theta state, as I will also cover some deep information on how this state can resolve trauma, which neurotransmitters and hormones it causes the body to release, its effects on the nervous system, which foods can help promote it, which parts of the brain it focally correlates with, and which chakra it centers around. Also, I'll be going into how this state can access the subconscious mind directly and effectively, and how it is fair to say that the theta brainwave state is the subconscious mind itself. First, what is a brainwave? A brainwave refers to the electrical activity generated by neurons in the brain as they communicate with each other. These electrical impulses occur in rhythmic patterns, which are detectable using tools like electroencephalography. Brainwaves are categorized by their frequency, measured in hertz, and are associated with different states of consciousness, mental activity, and emotional states. Brainwaves are integral to how the brain processes information and maintains various states of mind. Each brainwave can be seen as a different radio station your brain can dial into, and we're experiencing these brainwaves at all times throughout our waking state and our sleeping state. Sound therapy or binaural beats, which involve specific frequencies, often aim to influence brainwave activity for relaxation, focus, or other therapeutic effects by entraining which wave or station our awareness is centered around. The theta brainwave is the spectrum of 4 to 8 cycles per second, or what is otherwise known as 4 to 8 hertz. The background music you hear in this video has a low bass pulse that fades in and out 6 times per second, causing it to promote a 6 Hz theta brainwave when heard. Note, this effect in the music will only be registered fully over speakers or headphones that can pick up bass tones, so you may miss the effects if you are listening over your phone speaker. Now, what are the mental effects of the theta brainwave? For starters, theta is a very calming and soothing brainwave state that activates the parasympathetic nervous system of the body, which can cause the mind to become more still and meditative. Theta is associated with deep meditation, the dream state, imagination, intuition, access to the subconscious mind and the hypnagogic state, past life regression, REM sleep, shamanic journeying, astral travel and remote viewing, extrasensory perception, and any other metaphysical faculty of the mind that is not yet commonly understood by mainstream science. It is fair to say that the theta brainwave is the state of the mystic, or the resource that makes a shaman a shaman. Theta can be seen as one's very own inner shamanic voice. It is gentle, honest, and has no limits as to what information it can access. This brainwave correlates strongly with a much higher brainwave known as gamma. When we synchronize gamma with theta, we are able to enter the theta state and remain aware instead of falling into REM sleep. The practice of remaining aware during the theta state was highly revered by various indigenous tribes and secret societies such as the Knights Templar, Priory of Sion and the Rosicrucian Order, as this ability grants one direct access to the Hall of Records or the Akashic Records. Though this state of mind wasn't named theta and conceptualized in such a way until much later in the 1920s when Hans Berger recorded the first EEG, it might not be too far-fetched to consider that we were much more intuitive as a species in previous centuries, and that what we now know of as brainwaves may have been seen or felt in non-physical forms, given they are frequencies after all, and frequency is a universal language. Upon reaching the theta brainwave, there comes a fork in the road. Either you fall into a light sleep, or you remain aware with little to no thought going on in the mind. Once again, staying awake during theta is determined by how much gamma brainwave activity we have going on to match it. Another variable is how much of the beta brainwave we have going on. Theta and beta are like oil and water, they don't mix. Theta will bring us down from the analytical state of beta. Though all brainwaves are always taking place, the one we experience is the one that is most predominant in the moment. There is a biomarker scientists refer to as the theta-beta ratio that indicates one's capacity for attention. This ratio is a direct reflection of what ADHD is. Though theta has a large list of benefits, too much theta can cause one to display effects of ADHD due to the fact that it increases awareness to the spiritual world while decreasing the beta brainwave that promotes conscious focus, analytical processing, and problem solving. In the higher range of beta, we go from the functional analytical mind into anxiety and panic. This is why the theta brainwave is great for people with anxiety and panic attacks as well as those with PTSD. 5.5 Hz is specifically ideal for those who suffer from PTSD, though any frequency in the theta range would suffice. Too much theta can bring about depression as it is inhibitory, whereas too much high beta can bring about anxiety and panic due to it being stimulatory. We could say that theta is a cup of chamomile tea and beta is a cup of coffee. The effects are pretty much night and day, and balance is of course important to consider when working within training the brain to different brainwaves. Though I'd rather not go too deeply into how certain medications mimic these brainwave states, I will say that it is quite obvious to determine which brainwave state should be prescribed to someone once we understand the different spectrums and effects of these states. It becomes quite apparent what ADHD medications do in order to create the desired effect, though the effect being obtained by way of pharmaceuticals can potentially come with a long list of terrible side effects. Sound therapy is likely the most non-invasive and effective modality one can use in order to promote a desired brainwave. One way to look at the spectrum of the different brainwaves is to see the higher ones being a laser beam of focus, and the lower waves such as theta and delta being a more diffused and omnifocal state. In other words, in the lower waves we begin to focus on everything at once and therefore nothing at all. Theta is more integrative. In the higher waves we focus more on one thing at a time, until you get into such high waves that you loop back around to omniconsciousness. There is a breakthrough where the theoretical highest brainwave would be the exact same as the theoretical lowest brainwave, resembling the life and death cycle of consciousness. This brings to mind the saying, infinity is a zero, just with a twist. But now let's bring it back to focus, the theta brainwave. From the ages of 1 to around 6, 7, or sometimes 8, we are in our formative years, where we are predominantly in the theta state. This is why children are like sponges and can learn new things so easily, because the theta brainwave leaves the subconscious mind wide open for the sake of obtaining and retaining new input. This is akin to walking around in a hypnotic state, as hypnosis takes place effectively in the theta brainwave state. Theta also enhances neuroplasticity, which governs the degree at which the brain can create new neural pathways and create new habits. If it weren't for us being in the theta brainwave state as young children, we would have to relearn our base level activities every day. Thanks to theta, we're able to learn these elementary activities of life and remember them from there on out. One of the reasons psilocybin therapy can be so healing and life-changing is because psilocybin promotes theta gamma predominance in the brain, causing old habits or old neural pathways to become rewritable due to the brain becoming malleable from the subconscious mind being open to suggestion. Given we are in this state at such a young age, our deepest roots to trauma stem from this time period, because this period where we were predominantly in theta mold how we interpreted or perceived all other forms of trauma from there on, and ultimately how we interpreted life in general. Therefore, the theta brainwave doesn't make us numb to trauma, It actually gets to the very root of trauma and facilitates our ability to mentally, emotionally, and physically process and release it. And given it is the subconscious mind and the generator of neuroplasticity, it also leaves us open to positive reassociation, where we can replace the trauma with a new script or new coding that is aligned with what we consciously desire. Whether or not it's mentioned in the description, Theta is the driving source of effect behind any approach or modality that resolves trauma, be it limbic system retraining, EMDR, TRE, EFT, narrative therapy, and cognitive processing therapy, just to name a few. Be it directly or indirectly, each of these modalities either promotes theta or promotes certain body parts, meridians, and energy points that correlate with the theta brainwave. In other words, theta is the root of the tree that many branches or trauma therapy techniques stem from. There is a subsection of our mammalian brain known as the limbic system, which we've come to know as the governor to our emotional nervous system. The limbic system is comprised of 6 different parts of the brain, most notably the amygdala, the hippocampus, the thalamus, and the hypothalamus. To put it simply, the thalamus processes sensory signals such as sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. The amygdala processes information from the thalamus, converts it into the emotion it finds appropriate based on past correlations or memories in the hippocampus, and sends this designated emotional input signal to the hypothalamus, where the appropriate hormone is created and then released into the bloodstream via the pituitary gland. When I was 7 years old, I was playing basketball in the driveway when my next-door neighbor aimed his loaded rifle at me, and my other neighbor was mowing his lawn. From that moment on, my brain correlated the smell or sensory input of fresh-cut grass with having a rifle aimed at me, and up until the day I released the trauma, the smell of fresh-cut grass made me very anxious. This is because the smell or sensory input was deemed dangerous by the amygdala and caused adrenaline and cortisol to be produced in the hypothalamus. It became a neural pathway that ingrained through the unexpected jolting charge of fight or flight until I reconciled the trauma and rewrote the pathway. Now, the smell of fresh-cut grass doesn't have that same effect on me. The amygdala registers all sensory input, but smell is the sense it registers most strongly due to its close connection with the olfactory bulb. During this sudden jolt of having a gun unexpectedly aimed at me, my brainwave spiked to high beta and my sympathetic nervous system took over the show, ensuring I would take action to survive, determining whether I would fight or flee. Given he was an adult with a gun and I was a child with a basketball, I chose to run. These traumatic events can cause the body to remain in a high beta state, causing the sympathetic nervous system to stay overactive in order to keep us alive. The problem is, it can become an overbearing protector and assures us that we should fear everything at all times, thus resulting in what is often labeled as anxiety disorder, panic disorder, or PTSD. Theta can help us fully process and release these past events to ensure our mind, body, and emotions no longer need to be on constant standby, bracing for a threat that is no longer there. It's as if the theta state is the mother that can calm the overprotective father in this case being the beta state. This is very important to note because it shows that anxiety or panic is not a malfunction, it's a necessary function to have. It's just that it doesn't need to be our default mode. When we experience anxiety or panic, it's not that we're broken. It's not that our brain is ruined. It's just stuck in a state that isn't appropriate unless a threat arrives, or if something rightfully needs to be analyzed as a potential threat. In fact, it would be more of an issue if you had no fight or flight response, though Western medicine and mainstream psychology often imply that this state is a dysfunction instead of addressing it as an important function that due to traumatic experiences has become too consistent and overruling. In high beta's attempt to keep us constantly protected, it can actually make the body prone to illness over time. Theta can be the antithesis to this. It can remedy this constant strain on the body by balancing the immune system and all other bodily systems over time, causing the body to regenerate and heal itself in all of the ways it knows how to. Theta causes the production of GABA, a neurotransmitter that has been found to be the chief initiator of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is known as rest and digest mode. In other words, Theta results in GABA release, which turns on the self-healing system of the body. When we say rest and digest mode, we often think of digest in regards to food and gut health, though it also has much to do with digesting emotions and experiences as well, in order for old charge to be released or grounded. GABA is also the calming switch to the amygdala, allowing the amygdala to fire towards the frontal lobe instead of firing back towards the reptilian brainstem, which deals solely with base-level survival driven by fear. The theta brainwave also promotes the production and release of oxytocin, which is known as the love hormone, as well as vasopressin, which is known as the trust hormone. Love and trust are of course profoundly important to our mental, emotional, and physical well-being and vital to our spiritual path. Another thing theta causes the body to produce and release is nitric oxide, which is an endocrine signaling molecule as well as a hormone and is the body's chief anti-inflammatory signal. Whether it be inflamed emotions, inflamed mental activity, or physical inflammation in the body, theta can cause stasis by bringing this inflammation down so nothing is blocked off or draining energy into a process that isn't suitable for being in a safe environment. Inflammation plays a huge role in illness, generally speaking. Some say it is the only illness, and though I slightly disagree, I don't think such a conclusion is so far off the mark. Nitric oxide is known to influence what is called long-term potential, or LTP, which is a key mechanism for memory formation, and if the formation is positive, then this is just another word for positive reassociation via the brain's memory bank we call the hippocampus. Therefore, the hippocampus doesn't just retrieve past memories, it also encodes memory to determine a trajectory or a future result as well. This adds to the fact that theta facilitates neuroplasticity. So to recap, theta causes the body to create and release its own medicine. All of the other brainwaves cause chemical and hormonal releases of different kinds, but that which theta releases is the perfect prescription for those who are looking to achieve mystical states of consciousness, creativity, reconciliation, putting the pains of their past behind them, and moving on without suppressing or sweeping pain under the rug. There are certain foods that can assist the production of theta waves. Though the dietary approach to brainwaves is very understudied and is a prolonged approach, it isn't a bad idea to team it up with more direct and expedient forms of brainwave entrainment. Some foods that can help assist theta brainwave production are magnesium-rich foods such as dark leafy greens, certain nuts and seeds, avocados, bananas, and dark chocolate. Almonds are one of the nuts that can help promote theta, which is interesting because the word amygdala literally means almond and is named that due to its shape. Also, omega-3 fatty acids can help along with complex carbs and tryptophan-rich foods. Antioxidant-rich foods can help promote theta as well, but they can also promote gamma, which isn't ideal in large amounts for someone who might be experiencing extreme panic attacks due to their stimulatory nature. Though there are often 5 brainwaves that are most commonly talked about, there are 2 other brainwaves that we can add to the list, leaving us with 7 brainwave states, or what could be speculated to be the 7 heavens, which many different religions have recognized throughout history. If we aligned these 7 brainwaves with the 7 main chakras, epsilon waves would correlate with the root, delta waves would correlate with the sacral, theta waves would correlate with the solar plexus, alpha waves would correlate with the heart, beta waves would correlate with the throat, gamma waves would align with the third eye, and lambda waves would align with the crown. But note that the brain waves aren't single points, they're spectrums. Therefore the theta brainwave would cover the solar plexus all the way up through the diaphragm or lower heart. When we mention theta in the same breath as neuroplasticity, the subconscious, and hypnosis, we realize that this state of mind is the perfect place to practice positive affirmations and manifestation. Positive affirmations are a great tool, but the trick is to get the conscious analytical mind out of the way. That way the message sinks deep into the subconscious mind and can actually become a reality. Therein lies the difference between conscious affirmation in the waking state and subliminal messaging. Though we often hear the term subliminal messaging in a darker context regarding conspiracy or mind control, this very same idea can be used for good. After all, a subliminal message is simply a message that is undetectable by the conscious mind for the sake of it embedding into the subconscious, for better or worse. Putting our desired outcomes and positive affirmations into the subconscious mind is the most direct way to consciously create the reality we wish to manifest. One way of doing this is to add a message to music with the message so low in volume that it can barely be heard. This ensures the conscious mind or rational mind can't detect it and debunk it. For optimal results, this subliminal message would be put to music that entrains theta brainwaves. This is literally a form of self-hypnosis and should never be broadcasted to someone else without their approval and consent. However, this is just one approach, as manifestation is an art form like most things. I go by the saying, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Once we treat something like it's an art form, then we can turn anything into that art. We can turn mundane tasks such as washing dishes into a full-blown meditation if we see this concept in all things. This is the mindset of the alchemist, to discard nothing and embrace everything, as each thing has its time and place. From this stance, we would see that promoting the theta brainwave can be done in various different ways. In fact, you can create a neural theta trigger and make something cue in theta for you if you really wanted to put the energy into achieving such a thing. However, I thought I'd cover a couple of the more direct ways to obtain this result for the sake of general practicality. The last video I uploaded went into relaxing the tongue in order to silence the mind. This practice is one way the theta state can be achieved without having to use something outside of yourself to help promote it. The approach I find to be the most direct and effective for everyone is the use of sound in training the theta brainwave frequency. This can be done through sound in the form of binaural beats, monaural beats, and isochronic tones. If you are going to take this approach and practice it regularly, I recommend you consider the short list of precautions. Though brainwave entrainment through sound is safe and effective, it is not recommended for those who have a pacemaker, those who are prone to seizures, and those who are pregnant. It's also recommended to not use them while operating motor vehicles due to the fact that they can promote such deep meditative states. If you don't fit any of those precautions, then the only harm they can potentially cause would come from listening to them too frequently or for too long in one sitting. Generally 20 minutes is a sweet spot between effective and just long enough to ensure you can only yield benefits. This is why I keep most of the sound therapy tracks I upload on my channel around 20 minutes long. It is generally safe to do 2 to 3 20-minute sessions within a day at most. I create custom music based on diagnosis for people who are looking for help in achieving trauma release, meditative states, chakra activations, various forms of therapeutic effects, or energy enhancement. If interested, feel free to comment below and we will exchange contact info. Also, I will leave a link in the description for my video named Calm the Tongue, Silence the Mind. In summary, the theta brainwave has a diverse array of effects ranging from the far-out mystical reaches of the psyche to the grounded and practical approaches to resolving trauma and maintaining our mental, emotional, and physical health. Theta is the soft, soothing inner voice that can guide us through our shadow without re-traumatizing us. It is the off-switch to the overly anxious monka mind we know of as high beta, and is the station we can dial into in order to hear our inner shaman. No shaman will help you more than the inner voice theta speaks. Thus this video is made with the intention to empower the listener and to give not only hope, but scientific facts that there are ways for us to use our own mind and body to manifest the life we desire. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Feel free to subscribe and look through the sound therapy tracks I've uploaded. There will be more to come soon. Thank you for watching.